Would you give me a small glass of water, please? Hello, Catherine, and welcome. You're here early. Excellent. Just getting set up, so don't notice the man behind the curtain. Could you leave that plugged in, please?
No, that's not what got plugged.
Oh, ran out of music. Gotta do it again. Okay, I'll take that. I need you to turn yours off now, or else we're going to get weaker. That's okay. That's okay. You didn't know. Give me a second here. Spacing. How's that for some rock and background music? All right. I think we're just about ready to begin. Hey, Katrina's online. Yay! I couldn't tell that at all from the fact that she's sitting across the room. That's my lovely wife, Katrina. As Catherine knows, but I don't know who else is on. So let's see. Oh, just the three of us so far. Well, we'll get a few more in a few minutes. Let's start with the way it works. I have people who say they're actually going to come, so it should be exciting. We'll get started in a minute. Pardon? Turn down the music, I think. Hey, Shirley's here. Hi, Shirley. She ran down to get wine. Good choice. I've got mine here. I'm going to pour it in a second and get things going. I think it's time to turn off this background music. Hey, Miles is on. Hello, Miles from Cambridge. How you doing? Hang on a second here. There we go. Got the music done. Oh, apparently my camera lens is gritty. Hang on a second. I'm going to vanish. Everyone stare at the beautiful bottle of wine. Here, I'll pour some. We'll make it very exciting because we have to think this is very exciting. So hang on. The exciting wine pour for the evening. All over the table. Does it get more exciting than that? All right. I'll be right back. Hang on just a moment here. And then we'll raise a glass to the new book. Okay, cleaning the lens. Okay, apologies to anyone who suffers from migraines for that. There we go, that's a little better. Cleaning the table. Nobody saw that spill, right? Excellent. Hey. All right, how are we tonight? Here we go. All right. So we got human beings. Yay. Hello, human beings. And everyone here. Christine's here. What's wine? I spilled wine, Christine. Now, according to the Irish, upon Judgment Day, you will be hung head down in a barrel containing all the wine you've ever spilled, all the alcohol you've ever spilled. And if you drown, to hell with you. Just saying. So I'll be, sucking that out of the towel later and putting it back in the glass. All right. Oh, you have your new book open, ready to read. Thank you so much, Miles. That's wonderful. You can see I've got the very, very... You can see I'm in my very special writer's library. This is, of course, the wall of our apartment where the books are because it looks cool. But we're going to call it the special writer's library tonight. So everyone just, go with me. Go with me on that. Hey, Jody's in. Hi, Jody. Hello. Wonderful. I was going to start in, let's say, 2 minutes. We'll give 2 more minutes for people to come. And I'll just say hello to everyone as they come from now. We'll begin with a land recognition. Especially important today because today is Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada. I'm not sure if I got anyone here who's not from Canada so far, but if there's anyone who isn't, of course, this is now a national holiday where we as Canadians have to, I guess the best way to put it is take some time to come to terms with the legacy of the residential schools in Canada and the legacy of what happened to the First Nations here and help bring our nation together and heal it. Is the purpose of this day. So that's what it's all about. So 2 more minutes, then we'll do the land recognition, then we'll get started. I think, okay, vote here. Do I start with a reading first or I start with the first book giveaway? Y'all let me know what you think in the comments there. And I'm not going to be drinking wine at all. Excuse me. That's a nice wine. This is a Cabernet Shiraz tonight. Reading, says Christine Maitland. So far, I got 1 vote. Oh, look, I found the pages I'm supposed to read. Catherine Whitney says giveaway. Catherine Whitney and friends says giveaway first. So we're tied. We are tied. Reading from Jody first. Ooh, there we're 1 vote up. It's neck and neck, folks. Who else? It looks like we're doing the reading. A good full-bodied red. It is indeed, Miles, a fine full-bodied red. And I'm trying not to drink too much of it while I'm doing the program, but I can assure you I'll be aiming to finish the bottle later on this evening. I'll just leave that over there and switch over to my good full-bodied water because I got to clear my throat for the reading. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are 8:05, so let's officially get this thing underway, beginning with a land acknowledgement. Yay, music done. Yes, indeed. All right. Tonight, I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work here in Toronto is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. This land is covered under Treaty 13 and is part of the Dish with One Spoon. And so that's our land acknowledgement. And as I said, it's very important tonight. This is an important day, and I'm slightly embarrassed that I'm having my book launch tonight. I have to admit, I got real busy and forgot about which day was which this year. And this is the first year that this is actually a national holiday, which is a wonderful thing. So next year on the 30th, I will not be having a book launch, I promise. Hopefully I'll be having one earlier. Like this book was supposed to be out earlier, and it's a good thing that Gunnar isn't here yet because he'd be teasing me. Because I said, I have to admit, folks, I said that I would have this out at the end of July. Yeah. Well, we all saw how well that worked out, didn't we? No, it was one of those things. You know how life gets busy? Well, our lives got busy, and summer got very busy. We ended up taking an unexpected trip to Newfoundland with family. It does indeed happen, Christine. Yeah, we end up in Newfoundland for 10 days, something like that. At least 10 days. Plus, we had family here for a few days on either side of that. We had many other life things going on, and the book just didn't get done. But now it is done. Now it is available, and I know many of you have purchased it. To which I say, thank you so much. It makes it worthwhile being on offer knowing that someone reads this. There's one gentleman from Brazil, actually, on Twitter who promised me he's buying it next month, which is wonderful. So I'm now an internationally read author, ladies and gentlemen. Canada, the US, and Brazil, and the UK. So very, very excited. So one last chance to vote, reading or prize. Counting down from 5. Zero, and it is the reading first, but I promise the first giveaway will be right after, okay? So for those of you who don't know, and I hope that's few of you, my new book is entitled The Dead Trees. It is the second book in the Stalker Chronicles and the third story of Abyowith. If we remember our books, The Trials of Abyowith was the first book. It's a prequel. It sets up the Stalker Chronicles, where we learn Abyowith, who wants to be a knight, and all the things that happen, then she ends up as a stalker. So if you haven't read it, I do encourage you to, because it's a great deal of fun and it just helps. The second book was The Wire Noose, which was a lovely little murder mystery set in the great city of Abyowith, where our heroine lives. And now onto The Dead Trees. And I thought I'd start by, I think I'll read the first chapter if you don't mind. It's not too long. Take about maybe 10, 15 minutes if that sounds good. And then do giveaways, have a chit chat. And if we've got some time afterwards and people are up for it, I could read the second one as well. But I don't want to read too much. I don't want to give too much away. So, everyone feeling good? Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. Chapter 1. Shirley wants to know what spill. It was Cab Shiraz. I spilled some of my wine. Ready. Abyowith felt warm, which she shouldn't, because fall had come to Abyowith. The summer heat had faded, replaced with the cool, damp, salt-smelling ocean breezes that carried with them the promise of winter rains. But Abyowith's warmth had less to do with the weather than the tall, wiry woman walking beside her, fingers intertwined with Abyowith's own. It had been 3 months since she and Lizareth had begun courting, seeing each other, spending time together. Abyowith wasn't sure what it was yet, but she liked Lizareth, and even better, the woman liked her. Maybe, she thought, I could define our relationship better if we'd been able to see each other more than 4 times. Lizareth was an initiate of the Knights of the Exculpatory Order, and had every 9th day off from her training. It was the high goddess Thealis Day, and almost everyone had that day free. Unfortunately for assistant stalker Abyowith, miscreations, magically created beasts that roamed the countryside and occasionally the city, did not take 9th day off. And since stalkers hunted miscreations, more often than not, Abyowith didn't get the day off either. So, when Abyowith learned she had this 9th day free, she raced up the steps of the citadel to the 5th tier of Abyowith, found Lizareth, and took her out before anything else happened. In the morning, they'd gone to one of Thealis' temples in the lower city. For lunch, they'd eaten chicken stuffed flatbread. All afternoon, they'd wandered through the public gardens. The last summer flowers had faded, leaving the plants looking strangely barren. The arum had not yet begun its winter blooming, nor had the rosemary, though the smell of its leaves filled the air. Even the vines on the walls and the trees looked subdued, bracing themselves for the winter rains. At some point, they started holding hands. Abyowith wasn't sure who held whose first. It seemed like their fingers had brushed together at least once or twice before they became entangled. And once they tangled, neither pulled away. After a few moments, Lizareth moved her fingers, and Abyowith let her own loosen in case Lizareth wanted to let go. Instead, Lizareth had shifted her fingers until they were fully entwined with Abyowith's. And if both of them fell quiet for a time after that, and each turned red and couldn't look at the other, neither said anything or minded. When they spoke again, it was about their families. Abyowith's parents owned a small vineyard in a valley of 3 days' rides north. Her brothers were card sharps and teases, and her aunt was a magician, one of the most powerful there was, Abyowith suspected. Lizareth had only sisters, and had grown up on a farm near the northern border. She never visited a large city before she'd come to Abyowith to become a knight, and wished she had more time to see it. Evening had come before they knew it. They found a stall selling cheap meat skewers for dinner, and another with fall fruit tarts for dessert. Now, with bellies full and the sun sinking behind the mountains, Abyowith and Lisrith walked hand in hand down the alley leading to Abyowith's apartment, comparing their respective days. The practice armor weighs a ton, Lisrith was saying, which gave Abyowith an excuse to watch her talk. Lisrith's face was a study in angles, sharp nose and cheekbones, and piercing eyes that lit up when she saw Abyowith. Real armor is custom built for the wearer, she continued. Practice armor fits terribly and chafes, and they're making us run in it. Remember that rainstorm a ninth day ago? Oh, yes. The thunder had woken Abyowith from her sleep. Torrents of water drenched everything that day, and the wind blew strong enough to knock over anyone not braced for them. It was the single worst time Abyowith could think of being outside, which is exactly where she'd been. All morning, Lisrith continued, we were out in it, running over obstacles, fighting practice bouts, and riding the skills course in full armor. The afternoon, we had to take care of the horses, clean everything, and run to the barracks in the rain. Oh, that sounds awful. Oh, thank the gods for the bathhouse, or I would have died of chills. You are so lucky to have it, Abyowith said. The closest to me is a quarter mile away. I had to sit naked in front of the stove to dry off and warm up. Lisrith flushed and looked away at the word naked, which made Abyowith smile. When they'd both been nice initiates, they'd bathed together more than once, but back then Abyowith had not thought of Lisrith in romantic terms. Now, though, to have a bath together? Abyowith felt her own cheeks growing hot. So why were you soaked? Lisrith asked, avoiding Abyowith's eyes. Abyowith jumped on the change of topic. We were dealing with an infestation of land clams. Lisrith frowned in confusion. Land clams? Abyowith shuddered. Ugh, vile things, 6 feet across, created by the magician Gonladi to trap people walking in his garden. They've been crossing a field 20 miles north of here. We had to wait until a big rain came so we could spot them. You see the bubbles coming up through the wet dirt where they're breathing, like normal clams under sand at the beach. I spent the day soaked up to my knees in mud and terrified I was going to get hit by lightning. Lisrith shook her head. How on earth do land clams travel? They push themselves through dirt with their tongues, Abyowith said. Not fast, fortunately. I never understood why miscreations spread in the first place. It depends on how the magician creates them, Abyowith explained. If they set limitations on the miscreations, then they stay where they are set. If not, they go where their creator is. And once the creator dies, wander and start reproducing. Nobody knows why, and I'm talking too much, aren't I? Not at all, Lisrith smiled. If it weren't for miscreations, the Knight of the Exculpatory Order wouldn't exist, and we'd never have met. True. Also, I liked listening to you talk. Oh, can I ask another question? Abyowith became aware that her heart was beating far faster than it should. All right. Why do some miscreations have such fancy names and others don't? Oh, that's easy, Abyowith said, the explanation rushing out with a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Different languages. Sarusks, for example, come from Palinth. In that language, Sarusk is sar, meaning shift or change, and usk, beast, so changing beast. Lisrith nodded, and now I know. Thank you. She smiled, and Abyowith flushed again. She turned her eyes away and realized, we're here. Oh. Lisrith glanced up at the old coach house. The building had not been used for its intended purpose for years. Captain Marfolio didn't own a coach or a horse. Its roof had moss growing on the shingles, and the wood walls had long ago lost their paint. The downstairs was garden storage in the territory of a large tabby whose favorite pastime was sitting on whichever stair made Abyowith the most likely to step on the beast. Abyowith lived in the upstairs room, which was not too hot in the summer, but thanks to plentiful windows, but which she discovered was getting breezy as the autumn progressed. Abyowith leaned against the coach house wall, facing Lisrith. When do you have to be at the Citadel? Before they close the gates. Lisrith's eyes lowered to their intertwined fingers. She squeezed hers tight around Abyowith's. I really enjoyed today. Me too. Good. Good. It was an inane conversation. Abyowith knew, but to be fair, Lisrith was standing very near. Abyowith couldn't think of anything except how Lisrith smelled, a herbal soap and a faint whiff of horse flesh. Have you? Lisrith stopped, swallowed, and began again. Have you ever courted anyone? Courted? Recording? Abyowith's heart sped up, beating much harder than it should, and her breath grew shallow. She lifted her eyes to meet Lisrith's, deep brown but with flecks of bright yellow in them as if someone had sprinkled gold dust on dark, fertile soil, and said, Not really. There was Salicio, but that wasn't really courting, and we only kissed. He had your first kiss, did he? Lisrith teased. And several more, Abyowith teased back. But I started studying with my aunt, and he moved here, and that was that. I see. Abyowith looked down at Lycereth's hand, warm and calloused and still entwined with her own, and needed to swallow herself before she managed to ask, "And who had your first kiss, Lycereth?" Lycereth looked away. "I was working on the farm. There weren't many people around, and..." Abyowith reached up with her free hand and caught Lycereth's sleeve. "And you've never been kissed?" Lycereth flushed red. "It's stupid, I know, but it's not stupid." Abyowith didn't dare move, didn't dare pull Lycereth closer. "It's special. And if you don't have anyone you want to kiss..." "I don't." Lycereth hesitated, then took a small step forward, closing the last of the distance between them. Her breath brushed Abyowith's cheek like a butterfly wing. "At least, I didn't then." Abyowith's mouth went dry. She fought the urge to lick her lips to make certain they weren't dry too. "And now?" "Abyowith!" The gate banged open, making them jump. Tararosh, Captain Marfolio's daughter, stepped out wearing a sweet smile. "Found you!" Lycereth turned bright red, and Abyowith's own face steamed. She took in a shaky breath and glared at Tararosh to show how little she appreciated the interruption. "Tara, what are you doing here?" "Dad wants you in his office right away," Tararosh said, smiling. Abyowith gritted her teeth. Tararosh was 13 and, as Abyowith had discovered, a terrible mischief maker. "And who is your friend?" Lycereth squeezed Abyowith's hand. "I should get back. See you next ninth day?" "If I'm in town." Abyowith did her very best not to allow her disappointment to show. "And I'll tell you if I'm not." "All right." Lycereth squeezed her hand again and let go. "Bye." "Bye." Abyowith watched Lycereth walk away, stop at the end of the alley, and, as Abyowith hoped, look back. Abyowith waved. Lycereth smiled, waved back, and disappeared from sight. "She likes you," Tararosh said, grinning ear from ear. She stepped back, holding the gate from Abyowith. "She really likes you." Abyowith resisted the urge to throttle the girl and walk through the yard to the house. On the second floor sat Captain Marfolio's study, and in it, the man himself writing in a book. The dim autumn light from the window emphasized his dark eyes and hid the gray in his hair. As always, the shelves behind him were so stuffed with papers and book they looked ready to topple and bury him at any moment. She knocked on the door. "Good evening, Abyowith. How was your ninth day?" "Fine, Captain." Abyowith forbore, adding, "until your daughter ruined it." "You wanted me?" "What's a tree eater?" It was not a question Abyowith had expected, but easy enough to answer. "A miscreation, half-flying lizard, half-rodent, 3 feet long, plus tail, kills trees by chewing a circle around the trunk. Can only reproduce after eating the sapwood of a fruit tree, but reproduces very fast once it does. Created by the magicians Glaronagath and Quilani 23 years ago when noble Anislovi annexed their orchard during his border dispute with the noble Kalitith. The tree eaters destroyed every fruit tree in Anilov's territory, driving his orchards into destitution. Several dozen people starved to death. The tree eaters would have spread further, but they don't like rain, so when the winter storms hit, they hid in their nests. Anislovi launched a war to get revenge and burned down Quilani and Gargola's house with Garano. Okay, it's sad when the author gives the character a name he can't pronounce. I'm just saying. Glaronioth's house with them inside before killing all the tree eaters he could find. "Excellent," said Captain Marfolio. "And how is your tracking coming?" Abyowith winced. "Lieutenant Kalitith says I might be able to follow a cow through a muddy field, if it's the only creature that ever walked there." Marfolio smiled. "Then consider this an opportunity to hone your skills. You and Kalitith will leave tomorrow morning for the village of Hoppanok. The tree eaters destroyed a pair of trees in the orchards there. Get horses and supplies from the Citadel stables and meet me at the Stalker house by 8th bell for your expense money. You two are to investigate, track, and destroy any tree eaters you find, or send for reinforcements if there are too many. Questions?" "No, Captain." Abyowith paused and thought a moment. "Yes, Captain. Did you ask Tararosh to meet me as soon as I arrived?" Marfolio's head tilted, and his eyebrows rose. "I told her to leave a note under your door. Why?" "No particular reason," Kalitith said. "Wretched brat. I'll go tell Abyowith said, "Wretched brat. I'll go tell Kalitith." And that's our first chapter. I will pause. Ooh, wild applause from Katrina, who is in the room with me, my lovely wife, Katrina Guy, for those who don't know her. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't. So everyone say hi, Katrina.
Thanks.
And there she is. So that's our first chapter of the book. There are clues in that chapter. And hopefully you will, when you get to the end of the book, go, oh, there were clues in that chapter, just like he said. Ooh, applause. Applause. Hi, Katrina. Whoop. Hi, Katrina. I think I've got a bit of a delay going on, so I'm gonna do a test on this. I'm gonna say the word. What word shall I say? I'm gonna, as soon as I say this next word, send it to me. The word is tiddle. Tiddle. Just type it in as soon as you've heard it. I want to see how long the delay is. Hi, everyone. Tiddle. Okay, so about 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Okay, I'll make sure to well, we're having the contest now first, so I'll make sure to all the tiddling, you wonderful people. So I'll make sure to slow down a bit and give everyone a little extra space for the contest. Now, I was thinking very hard about these contests because I'm giving away three e-copies tonight, electronic copies of my second novel, Cold Magics. It is the second book in the Thomas Flaherty stories, which is a trilogy I wrote some time back for Dragon Moon Press. It's a good standalone book. It works quite well by itself, but if you really like it, you can also buy the ones on either side and say, hey, this is a great trilogy, and, be happy for several days in a row rather than just a few with the one book. So, oh, Miles has it, and thank you very much, Miles. I'm glad. So, for the contest, folks. All right. In the Trials of Abyowith, what is the name of the creature that kills her horse? First answer gets the prize. Katrina cannot be the first answer because I'm married to her and she has access to all my books on the shelf. That is a tough one, though. But of course, everyone here's read the first book. And I will give a clue if no one's got it in the next 10 seconds. So. The author.
It's technically true.
Okay. Yes, but no. I am not a creature. I am a horrible being with the power of life and death over my characters. Really should have inhaled before I made that statement.
Yes.
I ran out of oxygen there. It's technically true. Katrina, you're not helping. All right, I'll give you a clue. In the chapter I just read, Abyowith named the creature. It wasn't the land clams. Everyone right now is desperately going through their iPads and phones going, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Giveaway. La, 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 la. Trick question. Miscreations have types, not names. Hi, Gunnar. All right, name, type. What type is it? I'm popping on my phone for a second to let the folks on Twitter know that this is going on, because hopefully some more of them will join us. Some were threatening to. So I'll give you 5 more seconds, or the time it takes me to find the last time I tweeted this out and retweet it. It is. Any luck? Any luck? Hello, Eric. 10 seconds stop in to wish you a great launch. Thank you so much, Mudge. Hey, Mudge, do you know the name of the creature that killed Abyowith's horse in the first book? If so, you get a copy of my new one. And thank you so much for dropping by. Really appreciate it. That's wonderful. I know you're very busy this evening. You told me on Twitter, so that's excellent that you can make it. So glad. Thank you. Okay, has no one got the answer? It's not that hard a question. All right. I'm going to have to go back to what I read and see if I can find it. Whoops. It's really sad when you forget the code to your own iPad. There we go. Clueless, sorry, but we'll look. Sarusk says Miles, and Miles has won it. Yay, Miles! Wild applause for Miles. Okay, Miles. I'm sticking my email in the chat. There it is. And you just send me an email there, Miles, and I will send you the book. And it will be an electronic copy of Cold Magics. A fine, fun-filled book with sword fighting and magic and all sorts of things. And Miles found it in chapter 1. Well done. Well done indeed. Yay. And we have 7 people on right now. It's wonderful. We got a whole crowd. Woohoo. Actually, if 2's company and 3 is a crowd, 4 is a group, 5 is a mob, 6 is a horde. What is 7? Lucky? This is true. Lucky, says my wife. And she is correct. Congrats. Well done, Miles. Well done indeed. All right. This is usually the time where I do sort of a chit-chat thing in between reading chapters and, trying to think of clever things to say because I can only be so witty for so many hours a day. And I used most of that up this evening trying to remember my name. So, wild applause. Yay. So, questions. Anything you'd like to ask the author? Anything you'd like to tell the author? Anything that comes to mind having gotten through the first chapter? And I have a question. How many of you have actually read the book already? I got money on Gunnar because he tends to, as soon as he gets it, he whips through it and just,
Which book?
This one. Katrina asked which book. How many have read the new book already? The one we're reading today. Whatever the title is. This one. Wow, that doesn't read on camera, does it? There it is. That book, The Dead Trees. Not yet, says Catherine. That's cool.
Can't see it.
Good night, Christine. Oh, Christine has to go. Good night, Christine. Good to see you, or good to hear from you, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, my dear. Not yet, says Catherine. No, that's good. So hopefully you all have a nice surprise and enjoy it. I really had a great time writing this one. It was a bit of a struggle. You ever have one of those? Couldn't see it very well. Yeah, read it. You seem to have me pegged. Yes, Gunnar, I do, and I'm glad you read it. And the answer to the next question is yes. No, understand. You don't understand why people were saying tittle before you started reading. Shirley's wondering, because Shirley, there is a delay on the mic. So I asked people when they heard me say the word tittle, to write it down so that I could figure out how long the delay was so I could give time for the answers to the contest questions. So that's why people were saying tittle. Plus, it's funny. Probably shouldn't have told everyone that part, but it was funny. So yes, this was a fun one to write because I was about halfway through when I realized I hadn't actually planned out the second act. Okay, Gunnar, I have to have a talk to you about this question. If you can all see, Gunnar has asked a very reasonable question. When is the next book coming out? Now, cast your mind far back in time to, what was it, May?
Yeah.
May-ish, the last book launch. And Gunnar, my very dear friend Gunnar, an amazing man, I might add, in with amazing taste in chocolate. If you ever get to meet Gunnar in person, ask about the chocolate. Asked me back then, when is the next book coming out? And I told everyone. And then it didn't come out then. So I will say that the next book will be out before Christmas. That is the goal. It's actually sort of a winter festival themed book. I'll give you the title if you like. Does everyone want to see the title of the next book? Anyone?
No one wants the title.
No one wants the title. Well, the title, then I'll guess, keep it to myself.
I think they're actually.
Okay, Shirley says everyone is about 10 minutes ahead of her. Okay. Sorry about that, Shirley.
I think the delay is longer than we think.
Yeah. So it looks like we're having multiple delays across platforms, which is interesting.
And Miles asked for the title.
And Miles has asked for the title. Thank you, Miles. You make me feel better about the universe. So yes, the title of the next book is A Festival of Magic. Because in midwinter, in the country in which our people live, thank you, Gunnar, is the Festival of Magic, the goddess of darkness and magic, whose time comes just after midwinter. So we have a midwinter festival that spans from the end of the darkening times to the beginning of the lightning times, just like here where we have a winter solstice, right? So the festival is based around that. So it is at the Festival of Magic where things happen. I do Audible. Can I read E for you? Shirley, that is wonderful. And let me get back to you on that, Shirley, because that sounds like a great idea. But let's talk about that offline. So I'm going to make a note. Shirley offering Audible. Now, for those of you who don't know Shirley Meyer, and I think there's one or two, Shirley Meyer is an amazing author unto herself. Shirley, what's the name of your new book coming out? Is it Gilded Filth, I think? Or is that the... anyway, she has a wonderful series, very, very different from what I write. Very much an exploration of a young person's struggle to escape the dark side of their family and their and the world in which they live, and to seek something better. It is an amazing book. I can't recommend Shirley's books enough. So if you have some time to spare, do go look up Shirley Meyer and pick yourself up her books. She's awesome sauce. Now, so yeah, I'm glad Gunnar, you like the title. I think it's going to be good. I'll give you a clue. Something happens in it. Yeah, that's all you're getting. I haven't finished writing it yet. I give any more than that. Oh, and the lead character is still Abyowith. Wait, that lets you know that she survived this book. Darn it, I've given it all away now. But yeah, so that's it. So I think the first giveaway went so well that say something about the Magic Festival, says Katrina. Okay. One thing about the Magic Festival. The Festival of Magic takes place in every town, every city throughout the land. It is the Goddess's Festival, the Goddess of Magic's Festival. And in it, you have many magicians coming together to celebrate, to show off, to have contests. And at the festival, our heroine is down when she witnesses something horrifying. And thus begins our mystery. Also, there may or may not be some relationship stuff happening, but you'll have to read it to find that out. Or because it's the first chapter of the book, I'll have to read it to you for you to find that out if you attend the next book launch. So, we're down to 3 folks here. Some people have dropped on and dropped off. That's just fine. Fun thinking of festival acts. Yes, Katrina's quite right. We did have fun thinking of festival acts. We had the floating sisters. We had a guy who manipulates mud and all these neat things that you will see as part of the description of the festival. So that'll be really cool. And Katrina was a great help in getting that done. Magic, mayhem, and mystery. That kind of sums up the series entirely. A bit salacious. Well, I'll never tell. The main character should never die. You'd think so. You would think so. But since I'm planning a whack of books after this one, chances are not. Anyway, because it'd be terrible to have to change characters. Okay, and after book 5, we have a totally new lead. His name is Franco in the lexicon of the book. Because, of course, as we know, male names tend to end in a vowel sound. Females' names tend to end in a sh or th sound. And I will add that people who consider themselves neither male nor female will end in a different sound. You did indeed, Shirley. All right. So we're getting on. Good Lord, it's 8:36. Time is flying tonight. What should we do next? Another giveaway? Or a reading?
Another.
I got to vote for another giveaway here. What do you think out there? You're very frustrated? No doubt, Shirley. Hang on a second. I'm just going to pop on here for a second. Poor Shirley has got about a 10-minute delay, I think, on her phone, on her thing. Reading, says Catherine. Oh, there she is. So I'm just popping on the Facebook with Shirley to say hello. 7 is Leviathan. Yes. Group of 7 is a Leviathan. I like that. So another giveaway. We've got 2 votes for a giveaway and 1 for a reading. Press the live button. I'm going to pass that on to, yeah, Shirley's about 10 minutes up behind, so she won't see that for 10 minutes. So I have just passed that on, Miles. Thank you for that. She's checking it out now. So I'm just give Shirley a second to see if she can do that. Lower left corner. So we can give Shirley a fair shot at the contest. So Shirley, if you manage to get it, pop on and say yes. Of the video image. No, I must say the whole video launch thing is fun, but it is very different. I mean, I really loved it back at Astra. And Miles, I know it was at Astra lots of times. Really loved it back then, having 100 people show up and doing readings and selling books and signing things and talking to people. I miss those days. And fortunately, the numbers are getting better and better. And hopefully next year we'll be able to have those days live again. And wouldn't that be fun to actually go to a con again, to actually see each other again and do stuff? All right, I must scratch my nose. And that tells me that I must do a giveaway. Bum, bum, bum. So, what should the contest be this time? I'm throwing it open to the crowd. Yeah, we do need to ask again. Yeah, heard that and have a 10-minute delay. Yeah, sorry, Shirley. Shirley, I'll tell you what. I'm sending you a copy. You're getting a prize for Shirley. I will send you an e-copy of Cold Magics simply because it's not fair that you have a 10-minute delay and can't get through to us. So I'll send you a copy anyway. So what should the prize be? Okay, best guess. We'll do a guessing game here.
Oh, I asked a question.
Oh, Katrina asked a question. Who is the first knight Abyowith meets? Ooh, that is a good question. All right, folks, let's go with Katrina's question. Who is the first knight Abyowith meets? I'm going to send it to Shirley. Who is the first knight, not the fifth knight? That's a different book entirely. So Shirley is... All right. As opposed to a stalker, yes. We know who the first stalker, we remember who the first stalker Abyowith met was. So we're going to give, let's say, 20, 30 seconds on the second draw. If you can remember, who is the first knight that Abyowith met? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? All right. Anyone? Come on, guys. Someone has to remember who the first knight that Abyowith met was.
And Miles already won.
Miles already won?
You won the first one.
Yes, Miles already won the first one, so Miles could win again, and then he'd have 2 copies. And I know Miles wants nothing more than to wallpaper his iPad with covers of my books. But anyone? Anyone? I think we're asking 2 hard questions tonight.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It is not working, says Shirley. I am sorry, Shirley. So frustrating, I'm sure, to be stuck behind on this. And so Shirley, if so we're gonna do a different contest, everyone. Hang on, we may have an answer. We may. Shirley's typing in. The asshole who got her to run. That is technically correct, but not the name. Though very well done, Shirley. If no one else can give me better. Starts with an A. Dang. So far, Shirley is winning. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, Shirley wins it. The answer, by the way, is Kier Yamillo, Knight Captain of the Exculpatory Order. Yes, and Yamillo has always been a pain in her ass, as we all saw in book 2. And there's a special surprise for her in book 5 as well when we get there. I should explain. I started writing book 5 first. And then I got the idea for, it was going to be book 4. And the one I'm writing now is going to be book 5. And then I got the idea for book 4, the Festival of Magic. So that became my next book. And so that was awesome. And so the other one will in fact be book 5, and that will hopefully come out in the spring. Yay. So Shirley has won. So yay, Shirley. Wild applause, everyone. Type it up in there. All right. We have time for another reading. We've got about 15 minutes left. So I have a question. Would folks like me to read the next chapter or some of the next chapter? Up to you. Give me an answer. Yes, please. Next chapter. Just typing to Shirley to keep her up to date. And I've just lost all my books. There we are. That's not the one I want to read. Library. Library. Thank you. That one. Yo. Is this working now? Okay, Shirley, I'm going to say the word tittle. Shirley, type back tittle. We can see your text. No luck, no love, no nud. All right. Tittle, says Shirley. So her delay is much shortened. So yay, Shirley, welcome to our party online. All right. So who all we got? We got Shirley, we got Miles, we got Catherine, Whitney, and friends. We got a Katrina in here. Tell me, folks, should I read the next chapter? Shirley has sent me a yes, please. Anyone else? Anyone else? Katrina is saying yes. So I'm going to go ahead and to read the second chapter of the book. So I suppose I should pull that up on my page. So, see, we got word 46. Yes, please, says Katrina. I'm going to skip a bit. Going down to get some more wine, says Shirley. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. I'm going to skip a little bit of description, and I'm going to head right into the middle of the next chapter, where our heroes are explaining. Well, you know what? Explaining what's happening to the town magistrate, the town folks, all the folks in this Valley of Orchards. Are we ready? We'll begin. And so, after a wash and dinner, Abyowith found herself standing before a room of people explaining the nature of tree eaters. The magistrate had invited all the valley orchard owners, who brought their spouses and grown children and orchard bosses. The miller, Marisnath, a tall, lightly tanned woman with gray hair tied up in a bun, had also come, as had the magician Cloetinush, an older, dark-skinned woman who wore her hair in a long braid down the back of her deep brown robe. Noble Valdero, in whose territory the village resided, also attended. The noble towered over the others, his curly gray hair cut tight against his dark brown scalp, and his autumn orange breeches and jacket shining like a light amidst the orchardist's earth-toned clothing. It was a crowd far larger than Abyowith felt comfortable speaking to, but Kalitith had ordered it. Abyowith told him the short version of the Tree Eater's history she'd given Captain Marfolio, and then launched into the important information. Tree Eaters are a cross between a flying squirrel and a large gliding lizard, 3 feet long plus tail. Their fur is brown or black. They are nocturnal and travel by jumping tree to tree using the skin between their front and back legs to glide. They eat in a circle around the tree, chewing through the bark to get to the sapwood. They usually eat one tree every 5 days and only become fertile when they eat fruit trees. How fertile? The Kalitith, an orchardist, asked. Are we going to get a dozen of them come after us in a month? No, it's much worse than that, Abyowith said. Every orchardist and every member of their families leaned forward. Abyowith took a moment to wish she hadn't said it like that and explained. When tree eaters eat fruit tree wood, they immediately go into heat. The males mate with every female they can find. The females return to the nests and within 2 days produce clutches of 25 or more eggs, which will hatch in 2 more days. 4 days after that, tree eaters reach full growth, and both they and their parents launch out in search of more fruit trees. That's not natural, Kalitith said, horrified. You're right, Abyowith agreed. The magicians who made them wanted them to do as much damage as possible. Assuming that the 2 that damaged your tree were a breeding pair, that's at least 27 to deal with next time. And since tree eaters usually have a 4-to-1 female to male ratio, that means the next brood could be, Abyowith did some quick math in her head, around 500 if we don't stop them. A shudder ran through the crowd of orchard owners, and Noble Valdero rose from his seat. Are the 2 of you enough, then? We are enough to search for the nests, Kalitith said, and if we find them before the first brood reproduces, we should be able to destroy them. When you do find them, please send to me, Noble Valdero said. I'll have 20 men at your disposal in 3 hours. Thank you, Noble, Kalitith bowed. Can we look for them as well? Asked a young man, rising to his feet beside Noble Valdero. You can, Kalitith said. The more eyes we have looking, the better, but only searching, not hunting. I would hate to be shot by mistake. There were knowing nods and muttered agreements to that point. Marisnath, the miller, stood and asked, Are they dangerous to people? They're afraid of humans and will run away unless someone grabs them, Abyowith said. If that happens, they will attack, and their mouths are big and strong enough to chew right through a person's arm. When it's tried to destroy them, we'll use firearms or swords. Can Cloetinush do something? Another man asked. Use magic to drive them off? Sorry, no, Cloetinush said from her seat. It's not like brewing up poison for beetles. I can ward a single tree, but to ward multiple trees takes a great deal more power than I have. At best, I could build a warning system, but to do that, I need something to anchor the spell. What sort of thing? Kalitith asked. Will scat work? Sorry, no. Needs fur or blood or bone or skin. If you could find me a whole carcass, I could brew up enough essence to make a warning system for most of the valley. Thank you, Cloetinush, Magistrate Solongo said. He stepped to the front of the room. I suggest we arrange night patrols for the orchards until this matter. Kalitith and Abyowith stood aside and let the magistrate speak. Kalitith leaned close to Abyowith's ear. Glad your aunt drove all that into your brain? Abyowith shook her head. Didn't realize I'd have to recite it to a crowd. But now you know you can, so that was worth it, right? Yes, Lieutenant. Abyowith's tone clearly said the opposite. Permission to go check on the horses? Granted, Kalitith said, smiling. Don't be too long. Abyowith walked out the back door and across the yard. The cool evening air and the dark stable, calm and quiet and smelling of hay and animals, were a welcome contrast to the crowded common room. The horses, true to the stable girl's word, were well stabled and munching hay. Both eyed her suspiciously, as if they suspected she was going to make them leave so soon after they become comfortable. Abyowith patted their noses, gave them praise, and enjoyed the silence. The door squeaked open, and a young woman giggled, Toncho, what if someone sees us? What if your father comes? My father never goes into a stable unless he has his horse in it, a young man, presumably Toncho, said back. Abyowith recognized his voice as the one who asked about searching, and our horses are out front. And if my mother shows up, then I'll tell her my intentions. If you do, she'll never let you see me again, the young woman protested. She doesn't want me courting anyone. But I'm tired of sneaking around, Toncho said, frustration in his voice. I want to go to your horse and court you, not just meet up in the woods. At least this way we get to see each other, the woman said. Now come here. For the next few seconds, Abyowith heard nothing but kisses noises. It was at once embarrassing and amusing, and worse, made her remember that she hadn't kissed Litharith. She sighed, wondering how different it was going to be from kissing Celicio. Litharith was taller, for one thing, and a girl for another, but more important than both of those, Abyowith admonished herself, was that she shouldn't be standing here listening. Toncho, the woman's voice was teasing, where are your hands going? Abyowith rolled her eyes and coughed loud enough for it to echo off the stable walls. The noise brought a yelp from the young man and a gasp from the woman. Abyowith gave them a moment to organize themselves in case Toncho's wandering hands had dislodged any clothing, and then stepped out of the stall and waved. And the boy was handsome. Brown skin and square jaw, broad shoulders and narrow waist, and brown eyes that were looking anywhere but at Abyowith or the young woman he was with. The young one was a pretty thing with dark eyes and pale skin, and who also didn't look ready to meet anyone's eyes. I'm sorry, Abyowith said. I was checking on the horses and didn't mean to interrupt. Our apologies. The young woman dropped a short curtsy. We thought we were alone. I guess, Abyowith bowed. Now, if you'll excuse me, Jarapith, an older woman called outside the barn. The lovers' eyes widened with panic, and both looked around as if a place to hide would magically appear. The woman called again. Where are you? She's right here, Abyowith yelled back. She lowered her voice. Toncho, get out of sight. Toncho nodded, stole the last kiss from Jarapith, and stepped behind the stable door. Abyowith caught Jarapith's arm and led her out of the stables. She recognized the women striding to meet them. Miller Marisnath. Jarapith saw me in the yard and came with me to see the horses, though I'm afraid we never got around to names. Abyowith Tirionolith, Stalker's assistant. I saw you speaking, the miller said. She gave a short curtsy. Marisnath Terwonolish. Today is the first I'd heard of tree eaters in the valley. I hope you and your lieutenant can get this matter settled quickly. As do we, Abyowith said. Nice to meet you, Jarapith. Jarapith bobbed a curtsy, and the two women went back inside. Abyowith waited there until Toncho emerged from the barn, giving Abyowith a quick bow before heading back into the roadhouse. Abyowith rolled her eyes and followed. The meeting broke up soon after, and the Stalkers headed to bed. The next morning, Kalitith woke Abyowith with the sun. Abyowith groaned as she rolled to her feet. Kalitith just grinned and led her downstairs for breakfast. As they ate, Kalitith asked, Tell me about tree eater tracks. Claw marks on bark are what people usually find, Abyowith said, around a mouthful of porridge with cut-up apple in it. Tree eaters have 4 toes on each foot, each with a long, sharp claw. Where they walk, they leave 4 little holes. When they jump, they leave long gashes. Very good, said Kalitith. We'll leave the horses here and walk to the orchards. Now let's gear up and go find them. With luck, we can locate their nest today and get rid of them. The Stalkers each took their swords and pistols, a whistle, a small pack with water-skin food for the day, and a sack for collecting tree eater bodies should they kill any. Each also carried a length of rope, with loops for the wrists at either end and a pair of harnesses that could wrap around their boots, each attached to the spike. These are for climbing trees, should we need them, Kalitith said. Strap the spikes on your boots on the inside of your legs. Wrap the rope around the tree, put your arm in each end. It's awkward, but you can use it to climb when there are no low branches. I'm getting a signal that I have 4 minutes left. The wife's going, just wrap it up, just wrap it up. It's like, okay, don't worry. We'll keep reading till we get to the end of the chapter if everyone wants to stay on. It's awkward, but you can use it to climb where there are no low branches. All right, said Abyowith. Kalitith smiled at the doubt in Abyowith's voice. I've done it a few times. The important part is to lean back enough that the spikes don't rip through the bark. That's reassuring, Abyowith muttered, but put the ropes and spikes in her pack. It was an easy half-hour walk to reach the orchard, and a few minutes more to reach the damaged trees, which stood by the fence dividing the orchard from the sloped sides of the valley. Unlike the other trees, which were healthy and laden with ripe fruit, these were wilting, their leaves turning pale brown and the branches looking brittle. The sweet, sour smell of decay filled Abyowith's nose. The orchardists had harvested all the apples that could be saved. The rest hung, wrinkled and rotting as insects, and birds fed off their flesh. Around the base of each tree, 2 feet from the ground, the tree eaters had chewed a deep circle. And beside them stood 2 more trees with the same deep circle of chewed wood in their trunks. Kalitith swore and went over to examine them. She looked closely, swore again, and stood. Observations? It was the question asked at the beginning of every Stalker investigation, and one Kalitith had made Abyowith answer a dozen times over the past 3 months. Abyowith knelt down beside the tree, took a close look, and whistled long and low before saying, "That's nasty." "And that's an interpretation," Kalitith said, smiling. Abyowith refrained from rolling her eyes and tapped the chewed circle. The tree eaters ate through the inner and outer bark and the sapwood all the way around. There's no way to keep the trees alive after this. These bites are fresh, and since Kalitith didn't report any new damage yesterday, this happened last night. It's too soon for these ones to be from a new brood, which means we'll have a second pair of tree eaters coming into the valley. There's only 2 trees damaged, so that means 2 tree eaters. She raised her eyes. There are the marks. She examined the deep holes from the tree eater's claws, following them up the tree and along the branch marked by several deep gashes. Abyowith followed the line of the branch with her eyes. A short distance away, a 4-foot-high 3-rail fence marked the edge of the orchard. Beyond it, a clear space 10 yards wide stood between the orchard and the forest. She circled the tree and found another set of gouges on a branch pointing at the other damaged tree. Gouges here, where they landed or took off, or both. "Good," Kalitith said. "We might even make a tracker out of you one day. Interpretation?" The tree eaters jumped from the wood to this tree. One went to the next tree. They both eat and then jumped back to the woods. "Very good, assistant." Kalitith hopped the fence, holding her sword to keep it from getting tangled. Tree eaters nest in groups, so chances are the second pair will be nesting with the first. We'll follow the fresh marks, and if they don't lead us to the nest, we'll come back and follow the older marks. Go under the branch they landed on and point at the forest. Abyowith did as she was told. Kalitith walked to the forest edge, searching for marks. A moment later, she called, "Here!" Abyowith joined her and examined the tree. "There are multiple marks, so maybe they both jumped from here?" "Maybe," Kalitith said. "Now let's hope they stay at that height or we'll be climbing every tree in the forest. You're in the lead. Find the marks." "Yes, Lieutenant." Abyowith moved forward, her eyes on the trees. There was little underbrush near the orchard, and here and there stood the stumps of trees harvested for wood. As they walked, Kalitith showed Abyowith how to blaze a trail, using small cuts in the tree bark to show direction, each within sight of the last. To Abyowith's chagrin, she needed to use them more than once when she lost the tree eater marks and had to backtrack. As they hiked higher, the underbrush thickened, slowing their pace. The fruits end of the orchard faded as they walked, replaced by the musty smell of old trees. Several times the stalkers crossed well-worn paths, and Abyowith wished the tree eaters had followed them instead of moving up the slope with no regard for anyone walking. Halfway up the side of the valley, the tracks split. One set kept going up, while the other set headed to the next tree across the valley slope. Kalitith frowned and declared it lunchtime. They sat under the tree and ate their lunch of biscuits, hard cheese, and apples while Kalitith glared up at the branches. "What's the problem?" Abyowith asked. "Tree eaters nest and hunt together," Kalitith said. "So why are they splitting up?" "Something scared them?" Abyowith suggested. "Nah, if it had, they would have gone high." Kalitith frowned at the tree some more. "Right, I'll follow the trail going across. You go up. You know what their nests look like?" "Large mess of sticks and leaves found high up in trees." "Good. Keep an eye on the sun. When it reaches the mountains, head back. We'll meet here. Blow your whistle if you find them or need help." "We've only got a few more pages left, so I'm going to keep going. If you have to go, I understand, but if you want to stay till the end, stay till the end with me." Kalitith started across the slope. Abyowith finished her last biscuit, took her best guess as to which tree the beast had jumped to, and walked to it. To her surprise, she guessed right, but to her annoyance, the trail went up the tree, which meant climbing to see where the marks ended. There were a few branches low enough to reach, and Abyowith left her pack and sword on the ground, jumped up, and scrambled her way into the tree. After a moment's searching, she found the second set of marks and lined up the tree she suspected was next. She scrambled down, picked up her pack, blazed her trail, and kept going. Abyowith made slow progress through the afternoon. The undergrowth seemed determined to catch and hold her in place, especially her sword, which tangled with the brush regularly. After the third time, Abyowith undid her sword belt and put the weapon across her back under her pack. It made it impossible to use, of course, but it kept it out of the way. By the end of the second hour, Abyowith was actively wondering if it was too late to go back working in Tankolio and Son's post-service stables, as shoveling manure seemed infinitely more pleasant than climbing up and down trees in search of a giant chisel-toothed flying lizard squirrel. The tree eater's trail moved up and down the trees, making it harder to spot. One tree in particular had no low branches at all, and the tree eater, no doubt looking for a good launching spot, had climbed high. Abyowith strapped on the spikes, wrapped the rope around the tree, took 4 attempts to figure out how it worked, and climbed up. She spotted the marks, guessed at the next tree, and discovered that getting down was harder than getting up. She skidded and half fell down the tree, ending up on her back beneath it, the spikes on her boots digging into the earth. She lay there for a time, gasping, until she was sure she'd broken nothing on the way down. Then she pulled the spikes free of the ground, adjusted them, and started on again. 4 times, Abyowith lost the trail on backtracked. Once, she lost her blazes and almost panicked. She forced her breathing slow, ignoring her pounding heart, and turned in a circle until she spotted her blazes and resumed her tracking. Halfway up the side of the valley, Abyowith heard a new sound, a gentle, continuous rushing, interspersed with the tinkling of water bouncing off stones. She brazed the tree behind her and cocked her head, trying to locate the source. The next set of marks brought her closer to the water, though Abyowith couldn't see it from where she stood. Abyowith blazed the trunk and circled the tree, hoping she wouldn't have to climb it. On the other side, she stopped and stared. The mountain stream was 30 feet away, and as small and lovely as it sounded. The water flow, only a double handspan wide, began high above and bounced down the mountainside on a path it had carved over centuries. It wended between exposed tree roots and stones, bounced over many waterfalls, and slipped down the slope. Moss grew around it, fed by the river's moisture, and the trees on all sides thrived. And beside it, face down and unmoving, the toes of his boots in the water, lay a tall young man in a white shirt and brown breeches with a dark red stain on his skull. Abyowith ran, shoving aside underbrush and tripping on roots until she reached the stream. She knelt beside him and saw the wound on his skull. The skin was split and torn, and dried blood covered his face. He wasn't breathing. Abyowith touched her fingers to his neck, searching for a pulse. She didn't find it. Abyowith felt tears welling up in her eyes as she pulled out her whistle. She blew hard, the shrill sound echoing through the valley. She shouldn't be crying, she knew. She didn't know the young man. They'd only met once, when she interrupted him kissing Jarapith in the stables. And that's the end of chapter 2. And here we are. We have a mystery, we have a monster, and we have our hero on the trail. And my God, it is 9:05. I must like the sound of my voice the way I talk, let me tell you. So, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is left here tonight with me, I'm not sure how many of you there are, but let's take a moment. Woohoo! And Catherine says, woo, glad you liked it, Catherine. Catherine, so glad you could join us. It's been so long since we talked. Let's talk again soon. Ladies, any gentlemen who might be out there, folk, gentlefolk all, he, she, they, whoever you are, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm going to close tonight here. Applause. Yay from Katrina. Thank you. I'm going to close tonight here, but I'm going to ask anyone who's got a glass to raise it. Give my wife a chance to pour herself some. Ladies, to the new book. Bye, Shirley. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much to the new book, to all of you for coming. Cheers, and we will see you next time. Raising my cup to all of you. Thank you, Gunnar. Just wish the book was longer. I'm aiming to make the next one longer, Gunnar. I promise. They've both been short. I was aiming for shorter ones with these ones. I'm going to try to get the next one to 60,000 words. This one's about 45 or so, I think. So each one's getting a little longer. Next one will be 60, which is, I must say, a surprise. Cheers, cheers. This must be a surprise to poor Gwen Gades, who is the publisher at Dragon Moon Press, because the note I always got back from her was, shorten it! Shorten your books! They're too long. They cost too much to print. In fact, the second book, Cold Magics, I had to knock 20,000 words off of. But I will leave it here for tonight. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. Thank you. Have a great night. Have to leave you with goodwill. And Catherine loves short books. So yay, someone does. Take care, everyone. Be well. I appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to say goodnight and end the stream. Good night, all. Have a great evening. And we'll talk to you all again soon. And the next book will be out before Christmas. I swear by my pretty pink bonnet. Good night, all.